Hi there. Good, good.
You going to the auction this week?
I'm thinking about it, but
What are you looking at?
I don't need anything.
How was harvest this year?
In fact, I should get rid of some. Been done for quite a while. Yeah,
Everything was good?
yeah. Stood good and yielded good, so pretty good shape that way, yeah. Gary, would you take this lady's picture? She's sitting in my chair.
I know, I've been trying. I got a question. Do you know if in your collection you have an F20? I've got a late 39, M-style wheels, individual wheel brakes, variable speed governor. You think you have a tractor like that? It's one of the last 3920s that was built.
F20?
Yeah.
Who made it?
Farmall.
Have I got a 39 F20? I got a 32 and a
this is
36 and 38. Mine has electric start. It has foot brakes, hydraulic pump, power takeoff, belt pulley.
Well, I was going to donate you the tractor if you didn't have one. That's why I asked.
Oh, you was going to do what?
So I was going to donate the tractor to you if you didn't have one.
Oh, I see.
Well, I could look at inventory again.
Go get ours out of there, will you?
I had to find out if it was safe or not.
The last building we go in, you'll see the F-Series truck
Yeah.
at the end of the day.
She hadn't been drinking my Mountain Dew, has she, Gary? This was my trademark. I used to drink the straight stuff, and then I got on the diet. Don't like the other anymore. As people have diversified in occupations, there became less and less farmers. And today we're down to 1.5% of the population actually farm. So somehow they have to get the work done. And that kind of revolution came along in 1930 with the beginning of the Farmall tractor. And there were more Farmall tractors built than any other model over the years. So I've been interested in agriculture and how it became production agriculture. And of course it fits right in with the business that we are in, and it's the power unit for almost all of the farm implements out there.
What kind of excitement do you have when you find something that's one of a kind, or maybe even something that's special to you?
Well, I think the classic there was when I found the tractor that I grew up on that had been gone for probably 30 years, and I never knew what happened to it. It was the old H Farmall, and I was at a county fair right here in Iowa County, and I saw a picture mount, a photo mount of old rusty tractors sitting in the weeds, and I identified it by a few attachments on the tractor, and I discovered that it was Dad's old H that had disappeared years and years before, and we traded it off in 1956, and I found it in 1993 at the county fair, and that was a very interesting day to find that, because I just happened to be there and just happened to see the photo because it had rained at the county fair that day, and so everybody was pushed inside, and because I was inside the building that evening, I was looking at those photo entries and some of the things that kids take to county fairs and photo photos is one of the things that they did.
When my dad found this tractor, I remember that he had this block that he put in the pickup and we brought with us to the farm where he was going to look at it. And once he had it all, the price all negotiated and all loaded up, he went up on the trailer and he stuck this block on because he still had the pin and the block, and this bracket was still on here. And so it went right in, and then he showed the family that he bought it from, you know, what this was for. And he said that his dad made this wooden block and made it so he could flip it off to the side like this. And his dad could use the clutch like normal, but then when my dad, as a little boy, learned to drive it, he could flip it back over here and pull this little lever back to lock it on it. And then it created this, you know, 6-inch or whatever extension so his foot could reach when he was sitting on the seat, because that seat doesn't adjust, it's a fixed seat. So his leg wasn't quite long enough to engage the clutch, but with that block on there, he could do that. And of course it was this, he pointed out too, this throttle up here that was handmade, that his dad made. When
I was 2 years old, Dad bought it new, so I don't remember it coming to the farm, but I certainly remember it being around there. Your memories start when you're 3, maybe 4 years old. I can, in my mind, I can hear that tractor going between the shop and the corn crib on the way out to the field when I was a kid. And I had not heard it run for over 25 years when I found it, but to make that run like it sounded and did back at that time was fun to do.
It was like it was sitting there waiting for him, and it was close to home. And to me, the fact that he kept the wooden extension for the clutch pedal around for so many years shows that he always hung on to it as hope that he would find that tractor someday.
You have a mix of excitement, you have a mix of nostalgia and memories, and, you know, remembering back to the days when you were small and some of the things you did and some of the fond memories you had being outside with family working on the farm. So I'm sure it was very mixed emotion. Now, you know, my dad is very good at, you know, doing what I call a poker face, so you don't sometimes always know what he's thinking or feeling. And during the moment when he was looking at it, of course, he didn't want to overplay the excitement of it being his boyhood tractor, but he told that story so many times over the years about finding it, and it's evident that he's got a lot of just pride and joy in it now being a part of his collection many years later.
I never tell how many tractors I have, because if the word got out, my wife would find out, and then I'd be in a lot of trouble. So I don't really tell that number, because if she found out I had over 600 tractors, it might not be good.
Almost every tractor on the place runs. There's very, very few, except for a few parts tractors, that don't run. So it's been quite an interesting project over the years. The first tractor in the collection was 1979, I believe it was. Bought it down at Sheridan, Iowa, and it was a B Farmall, and that's where it started.
And Susie claims it as hers, and it has an extra seat on the left side, and it became the driver's ed tractor, so everybody learned to drive it around here.
As far back as I can remember, my dad has had the hobby of collecting antique tractors and restoring them. Probably one of the first ones that I remember that was significant to me as a kid was the B Farmall tractor, and he modified that to have a seat that he could ride in because of the wide rear axle, and he put a clutch on it and a brake on it, and you know, so he could override if needed. But that was one of the first things that I learned how to drive as a very small child, and we called that the driver's ed tractor.
We took this to the parade in 1981, and that was the first year that we had the row units out, the little Kinze planter units. So I bolted one onto a bracket on the drawbar, and I put a tube plastic PVC pipe, I had it sawed in half, laying here is a trough hooked to another PVC that ran down between the blades. We had a box of wrapped candy down here under the seat. Jonathan, who was about 2 years old at the time, he kept the trough supplied with wrapped candy. He dangled his legs down between the pedals over there. Susie was driving, and I would rake that candy down that tube, and we'd drop that candy on the street just like you were planting a row of corn. And on the side of the hoppers of that row unit back there, I put a sign on there in big black letters. Had 3 words on it. Anybody want to guess what I wrote on that sign? One sweet planter. The first Farmalls that I was interested in was what were popular when I was growing up. And so we've got H&M Farmalls, which were built from 1939 clear through 1954. And the M Farmalls the same way. So I have collected all of those year models and a few spares in some instances, and have that as one of the beginning parts of the collection. Then we have quite a number of John Deere tractors throughout some of the collection. And then as one guy complained on the tour, he had not seen any Alice Chalmers tractors, and I said, well, you got to stay for the whole tour. And I said, you just haven't seen them yet, but don't worry, they're here. And I've told people, if your favorite tractor isn't here, you've not seen them all, or you weren't paying attention. Well, I like to ask the question at this point, how many of you would like to see more green tractors? You guys just head out, yeah. How many of you would like to see red tractors? Oh, yeah, okay.
Orange? Yeah, I've seen some orange.
Orange, what was that? Orange was... Kubota? Huh? Oh, Kubota?
See a real tractor.
A real tractor?
Green Oliver.
Green Olivers. Stick around. There might be. The tractor that I'm leaning on is a 53H, and a lot of people thought the H's ended in 52, but they ended up in 53. And the difference to tell is that the 53s have disc brakes on them, and a few other changes. It has the sealed beam headlights, just a number of different subtle changes. This tractor, I bought it down here in southern Iowa, and it is the 391 728. There were 2 more H Farmalls built after this in 1953. So if you took this tractor and took the one out there that's number 4, there would be 300 and some thousand in between. I'd love to know where the last 2 H's ended up. Maybe someday it'll show up. It hasn't so far. And I think that somebody probably knows where the first and second H might be, but I'm not sure.
There's an H with a serial number 504. In 1939, they had started, when they serial numbered those, they started at number 5, at tractor number 500. So 504 would have been the 4th H built. And they bought that one on, it came up for sale on an auction just a few years ago in Wisconsin. It was still in really good shape, ran good, but the serial number on the engine, the serial number that's stamped in the block, or in the frame rather, and the serial tag all matched, and the date codes were correct on that tractor. It had the right tin work. So that one was really special because it was complete and just didn't need a lot of work to make it usable. So it's got to be one of the first ones that anyone knows of, one of the earliest ones built.
You collect tractors and you need more room, so you build a building. So I added on, and then I added on another, and then another. And then I was still running out of room, so I put racks in and stacked them up. And at one point there's tractors 3 high, downstairs, shelving, and then upstairs, up in the haymow of the barn. So there'd be 3 high there. And so that's how you know, it's kind of like Fibber's closet. You keep adding and putting stuff in and putting in more and more and more.
Now the first tractors that you come past there are the letter series converted to the number series. So when we got done with the H's and M's and 9s and all that, we switched over to the numbers. And so you got a 100 for the Super A, you got a 200 for the Super C, 300 replaced the Super H, 400 replaced the MTA. The shelving in here has given me a place to put implements, plows, discs. See a few more hoods up there on a shelf and that kind of thing. And you've got the 300s and 400s, and then you go the 50 series, 350, 450, and then you got the 60 series, 460, 560. And we got down through here several years ago, and I was getting that part put together, and this 10-year-old, I saw him jerking on his dad's arm. Dad, look, look, he was waiting to see John Deere. So I just matter-of-factly announced that, sorry, that section over there was closed today. And we let him go over there eventually, but we had some fun with him anyway. This lineup that I'm standing in now, if you go to the west end and work this way, 40-20s. I've got the 32nd 40-20 built all the way up through 72s. And I think in the next building down, I've got a row of a lot of different models of the 72. I think in here there's 72 gas, 72 diesel, 72 LP, and power shift as well as synchros. And then this one is a 71 or 72 row crop with the dual wheels on it. That's the tractor that model is what we started repowering with the Detroit engines, and we did probably close to 300 of the 50-20s, 45-20s, some 40-20s. We did a lot of those with the Detroit engines.
What's the estimated capacity of this tractor?
What do you see back there? That's my daughter's little scooter.
Yeah.
I made that for the kids when they were 4 and 5 years old. Put my son on it in the shop one night, and he started to ride it, and he ran over a log chain, knocked him over. Oh, he's just mad in a little old wet hand. He was never going to get on that thing again. You know what I did, don't you? I got him by the arm and I said, "You are right now." He got on it in 5 minutes. He was smiling again, see. But he was so mad when it upset him. Then we put the wagon on behind, and we had a little rat terrier dog. Daughter had one about 20 pounds, and she taught him to wear a bandana, sunglasses, and he would ride in that cart and stay there until she let him get out. And oh, he loved to ride. This guy's name is Dennis. He looks a spitting image of a guy that used to work for me out here on the farm, and he drinks Mountain Dew also. In this building, we've some of those tractors up above came out of here, the H and the 660. The 560 has a loader on it that I built about 63, and you just drive in and it takes 2 bolts and plug in the hoses. And it was the first quick attach loader that I know of. a number of years later, I took this old Farmall 450 and built another loader, and I wanted it to lift quite a bit more weight. So we ended up putting forks on it and putting on the 4-inch cylinders, and we had to switch the front tires a couple times, finally put on better hubs because it'll lift 7,000 pounds. Somebody asked about the 1256. There is the only international that I put the Detroit engine in. Did it for Phil Elward down in Memphis, Missouri. He could not see his way clear to go to a green tractor, so he had to have his 1256 repowered, only to discover that it would not stand it. He worked on the transmission. He put ring and pinion in it, I think twice, finally traded it in and got rid of it. Second guy tore it up again. Years later, I found it sitting out in a timber. Later on, the second John Deere has a V6 Detroit, same engine, but that John Deere with the power shift, it would stand the power, and we did about 10 or 12 of those. But in taking engines out of the 4520s, the middle-sized tractor, we started putting the takeout engines in the 4020 gas tractors. That was an example of one right there. We didn't have enough of the 4520 engines, so we started using the 4620 engines. After that, we started buying the 4630 engines, and that's what's in that tractor. Down here is the 4020 high crop that a guy did just for the novelty of it, and took it to Meekum's sale, and of course they knew I'd probably be there looking at it, and I was, and I did, and now I have it. The 4520 1970 John Deere brought me this brand new 4520 with a factory cab and asked me to repower it for their Coal Valley test farm. But when they got done with it, they would not sell it back to me. It had to go to their dealer. But the dealer got tired of it, and he sold it to a collector who in turn had a sale. And I went to the sale, it advertised a 4520 with a Cummins engine. We did that, and then the next tractor, that was before the Cold War. Then later on, this 5050 was built, and I got a cease and desist letter from John Deere. We did not build a 5050. Quit immediately or whatever. So I wrote back to the hot dog that wrote me the letter. And I said, sorry to say, but we did. I said, it's got your 5020 rear end and front axle. It's got your 4440 cab off of a rolled over tractor. It's got your 8850 hood. I did make the fuel tank. It's got a Cummins engine, which last I knew, it was not illegal to repower a tractor, and everybody knows it and needed it. And I said, it's got your green paint all over it. I had to buy 2 sets of your decals to get the 5050 that I needed. And I signed my name and I said, P.S. it's not for sale, but thanks for the interest. I had a 57 Chevy, I put a 409 in it, and I cut the front end off and put a 58 Chevy front end so that engine would fit. And then I made a tilt hood. I welded the fenders and the hood together and made it tilt like that. So I've been at this a long time.
Yeah, I guess so. So a lot of what I've done over the last years is to surround myself with people that can do. And if I had something that I needed done, factory, farm, over here, I know who to call to get the action that I need.
I think because he's so knowledgeable about all the different tractors, I mean, when you collect something and you invest so much of your life in something you're very passionate about and you know the details and you remember when you bought a certain tractor and why and what's unique about it, you know, there's people that learn that and know it. Certainly Gary is very knowledgeable and some of the guys that have worked on him, but he's got the whole history, you know, because he's collected from the beginning with what he's got. So I think he just enjoys talking about it, and then I think he enjoys the types of people that love to come on those tours are farmers who have their own memories when they were kids of using similar tractors, and he's a people person. He loves to meet people and talk to farmers, and it's a great way to interact with farmers on something that they're all very passionate about is tractors.
He really draws them in with his stories, realistic stories on different tractors and different events in his life that are represented through what they're seeing. And when they come back through here, it's hard for him to go. He's like a rock star, and it's hard for me to wrap my head around that, you know, a little bit. But they want his autograph, they want their picture with him, and they are so appreciative that he's so down to earth. And if that isn't marketing, I don't know what is. You know, if you're going to buy a piece of equipment and you had to choose, well, I want to buy one off of Jon Kinzenbaw because you know him.
You know, I think that there are people that have big collections of red, big collections of green. I don't know of anybody that's got the diversified collection quite like I have here.
What do you think the root of your love for antique tractors or tractors in general come from?
I liked something with a seat and a steering wheel. I didn't like walking in the field. I didn't like digging thistles by hand. I didn't like a lot of things about that, but I sure liked running a tractor and loader, whatever we were doing around the farm. I enjoyed that kind of stuff.
Do you think these antique tractors kind of connect you to your childhood?
Oh, sure. Yeah.
Tell me a little bit about that.
Well, that was too long ago to remember. One of the things that is a memory is that I grew up on a farm. I went out to the old home farm when I was 2 years old. And my grandmother kept me during the day because my mother was a school teacher. And I wanted to be out in the barnyard where the machinery might have been, or the shop or whatever. But they had me in the house yard with a fence around it. And when my dad was sitting one frosty morning looking out from the breakfast table, he could see the frosty coating on the wire of the fence, except there was a void in the fence about 2 foot wide and about 2 foot high. And he couldn't figure out why there was no frost on that section of the fence. And he looked closer and discovered that I had taken his fencing pliers, made myself a gate so I could get out. And then they discovered that I'd gone out that handmade gate and walked around the other way, and they'd find me in the barnyard. They couldn't figure out how I was getting out.